right, so the Mario movie, this is a very quick little video. I basically just got out of the theater. I got some bullet points, and we're just gonna go through them. We're gonna start with my light to no spoiler thoughts, then go into some of the more like specific things, then I will touch on the post-credit scene at the end. Now, honestly, like many of you, I expected this movie to be a total dumpster fire, and I'm sure a lot of people have still walked out thinking that it's a total dumpster fire, but I guess with expectations so low, you can only go up sometimes. One of the main complaints I'm seeing is that the plot is really thin, and like there's no denying that, but I actually do like the direction it went in. Even though it was absolutely playing fairly safe, I thought it was still kind of creative with what they decided to do. Is creative too strong of a word? Probably, but it worked. I wouldn't classify myself as the biggest Mario fan, like there are other games that I like more, but the first game I ever played was Super Mario Bros. On the Super Nintendo. And I love that game, and I've loved a lot of different Mario games over the years, from like Luigi's Mansion, and I loved, who doesn't love to get their Mario Kart on? Mario Party's always a blast. Basically, I have a fair knowledge of Mario, an appreciation for a lot of the games, a love for a lot of the games, including some of the other ones that would pop in here, like I love Donkey Kong Country. But I also wasn't walking into this being like, oh no, it's gonna ruin my childhood, because it's like, it's a Mario movie based on Mario. Like, if it sucks, the thing that you love, the games, are still there. And I really don't think this sucked. It wasn't as good as the first Sonic movie, in my opinion, and it obviously falls short of a lot of other kid-aimed and child content. But this was clearly trying to play it safe and be appealing to a very wide audience, which includes very young children and their very short attention spans. So I don't think it necessarily has to be one way or the other. The plot isn't as lazy as some people are describing it, but it's also not this like inspired work of art that I'm seeing some other people put out there. It's cute, it's fun, I think the intended audience are going to connect with it, and in terms of things that kids are going to drag their parents to, it can't be the worst. It is a very fast movie, which I don't think is a bad thing. It keeps it nice and breezy, and it is honestly probably for the best, because the couple times I noticed it like tried to slow down to just like imbue some story, get you into the psyche of Mario, those kids started getting antsy. It was like the second that a couple words started coming out of someone's mouth that wasn't like a Yahoo or this is how we're gonna like punch someone, like they were jittering. And I think it largely handles that fast pace very well. There weren't any moments where I was like, gee, wow, I really wish we had like slowed down here for some like conversation. But on that note, it's just not doing anything particularly creative. And in the animation world, you just have so many opportunities to do that. And I think that became all more glaring because before the movie started, we got a trailer for Across the Spider-Verse. And I realized that there's probably a lot of stuff in that movie that isn't going to appeal to a very young audience, but there's just no denying that that is an animated movie for children that is appealing to a wider audience base, that is exceedingly creative in every shape of the scope. I know we haven't seen this one yet, but if you're comparing it to the original Spider-Verse movie, that is just so creative, from the animation aspect to the way they use the frame rate to just how they infuse everything with the story and the characters, and that just really shows you how good animation can be. So when you get something like this that is just really playing it safe, and there's not necessarily a reason for it because it's Mario, like you have the branding there already, you have the IP power behind you already, it can be a little disappointing. But on that same note, I can kind of understand why you'd want to like play it a little bit safe to make sure that it does what it's supposed to and you get the opportunity to continue making these movies. But having said that, I do think this actually looked really amazing for the style of animation that it was. Even if it wasn't necessarily doing anything super creative in how it was telling its story, it still looked great. Now, in terms of some of the complaints on the opposite side, where people were like, Mario's never had a strong plot, so like, why does it even matter? Or it's just a kid's movie, what do you expect? Well, you know what? You can apply both those things to Sonic, and I thought that movie was better than this one. I also think it's for kids is one of the worst possible excuses you can use, because kids deserve to have good media too, and it's out there. And I don't think this goes completely in the opposite end where it is just trash. I just think it's middle of the road. It's fun, it's cute, it's whatever. One thing I really liked is that a lot of the scenes and the action moments were designed to feel like different video games. So like, the classic side scrollers, or, Mario 64, obviously Mario Kart. I personally really loved the side scrolling scene early on with Mario and Luigi. I thought that was so fun. There's also a little bit of a nod to Luigi's Mansion, which I really enjoyed. In terms of the music, it obviously used a lot of different sound from different games, music flourishes from different games, but then it also threw in some like classic songs like No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys, which is kind of unfortunate because that's that's going to be in Guardians 3, and then here's the Mario movie just like pulling it out from under them. Thunderstruck by AC/DC, Take on Me, and then another previously used Guardians song, Mr. Blue Sky, which is a fantastic song. And then when it comes to the voice acting, so much of it was just like really good. I know everybody was, up in arms about Chris Pratt. I also thought that Chris Pratt sounded like trash in the trailers. It is definitely a lot better when you're watching the movie. They also seem to have like cut out some of the egregious lines that people had issues with from the teasers.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
Though I will say that his voice seemed to change tone, accent, and pitch at multiple different times of the movie, especially from like very early on to like right when he gets into the Mushroom Kingdom. Otherwise, I really loved Charlie Day as Luigi.
Yay!
Seth Rogen would not have been my first pick for Donkey Kong, but for the version of Donkey Kong they're going for in this movie, he works. I do love Anya Taylor-Joy, but I wasn't necessarily huge on Peach as a character in this. She's fine, she has some nice moments, but I really just think she could have been used better, and maybe she could have had a better voice actress. Keegan-Michael Key was great as Toad, but the real show stealer, which was no surprise to me or anyone else, was Jack Black's Bowser.
Were you excited to play Bowser?
Yeah.
That is just an exceedingly talented man, and he owned this role to the fullest. But for me, the show of this movie was absolutely stolen by Lumalee, who they had as this bubbly little downer hoping for death anytime it was on screen. So I wanted to laugh so very hard every time it said anything, but then I was like mildly concerned at how like parents were like running this through their heads with their children next to them. But I would die for Lumalee, and it would probably gladly join me in that venture. But sliding into the general premise, I actually had no idea that the Mario and Luigi in this movie were not from the Mushroom Kingdom. They're from Earth, but when they go to fix a plumbing issue in the sewers of Brooklyn, they get bopped to another world, separated, and Mario gets swept up into some existing turmoil in the quest to find him. It's simple, it's cute, it has its moments. It simultaneously had stuff that surprised me, like how Donkey Kong interacts with Mario, and then just like these abysmal one-liners. They don't even necessarily feel like they're cheap or obvious things, they're just like very unfunny. Like Mario says meow at one point, which just instantly made me think of Sonic and how much better the use was there.
Meow. Meow?
Then some of the cutaways were just characters like restating a very obvious thing that just happened, but like with a voice that was like, hey, you should laugh, but it's not funny. Like, yeah, that's what happened. Was it supposed to be a zinger? I know I had some written down, but I don't know what the hell was going on with my writing, but I can't read half of these words. But diving into some specific spoiler thoughts, so if you want to leave, this is the time to do it. This starts with 2 scenes back to back that I actually really enjoyed, but apparently they've just already been online. So we got Bowser continuing his conquest, taking out the penguins, which I thought was quite entertaining actually. Then it cuts to the real world where we're watching a Super Mario Bros. Plumbing ad where they have Italian accents, but then it turns out that was just like a bit for the commercial.
We're the Mario Brothers, and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame.
But then the rest of the movie, the accents just kind of bop around between like some like light Italian, New York, whatever they're doing, but it is a lot better than the trailers. And I'm glad that I didn't realize that clip was online or come across it earlier, because those 2 scenes ended up being 2 of my favorites of the entire movie, and seeing them ahead of time would have not made it as fun to see now. But their family doesn't support their decision to follow their plumbing dreams because they quit their steady jobs working for a wrecking crew, which was a nice little callback to the games. And they're currently a little bit dejected between that and the fact that a dog sabotaged their first ever job. But later that night is when they get bopped to, I guess we'll call it the Nintendo world. So like Luigi gets sent to the Darklands and then gets pretty quickly captured by Bowser, which is where we meet Lumalee talking about the sweet release of death.
The only hope is the sweet relief of death.
Whoa!
I love it so much, I don't know what's wrong with me. And Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, where he immediately agrees to help Peach fight Bowser so he can find Luigi. They end up teaming up with the Kong army, which involves the fight between DK and Mario, and their dynamic is very fun.
Cool raccoon suit! Really? Not at all!
DK's just this obnoxious macho brat who just loves the attention from like all the different Kongs, but he's like mostly just trying to please his dad. Which leads to a moment later that you think is just gonna be this like heartwarming thing between him and Mario, where where Mario tries to commiserate about like his dad being disappointed in him too, but then Donkey Kong's like, yeah, well, in your situation, your dad's right. And it was just super unexpected. Like someone's dad lost it at that line, and it was really good. So it's just so weird that they're either completely playing by the book with these like horrible one-liners or just like throwing in these unexpected things. Like DK being an ass or happily depressed Lumalee. But the fun twist to this, if you can even call it that, I don't know if I'd go that far, is that while they're all preparing for a massive war with Bowser because they assume he wants to take over the Mushroom Kingdom in his conquests, like why else would he have stolen the superstar? He actually has different plans and he's aiming to steal something else. Peach's heart. That's right, he's been loving her from afar. He wants her to be the queen to his empire, to rule the world together. And I thought that was so fun because even all the Koopas are like, what? And then like the rage he has at them suggesting that she might say no. Like clearly she does say no, and that's when he goes scorched earth. Thankfully she manages to freeze him because she like thought ahead and is a badass, which keeps things calm until Mario and DK can get there. And this was kind of like another one of those fun scenes where they're going through getting different power-ups, but like DK got the fire power up, and I don't really remember him doing much with it because it kind of just follows like Mario with the camera. But then Mario gets the Tanuki suit, and they call it the raccoon suit. And I know that's like a basic thing, but I feel like they could have at least had fun with like a way to correct someone for calling it a raccoon. In the end, Mario sends the giant bob-omb through the portal to Earth, which then like blows a chunk of the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser's floating castle into Brooklyn, where they have the final standoff. Mario and Luigi both get the superstar so they can be badasses together, and everyone lives happily ever after with Bowser all shrunk and tiny. They don't show how they put things back, but I just know that like the next morning, Mario and Luigi wake up and they open the door to the Mushroom Kingdom, so I guess it all worked out. And their families are proud of them, yay! That was a very light addition plot-wise. It really was just kind of like, Mario and Luigi, as long as we're together, everything's okay. But then, just as this pitch is about to end, Lumalee pops out for one more zinger. This is after it was already depressed that DK saved it from being burned alive by lava. But it pops up with potentially the most disturbing ending to a kids movie I've ever seen, where it's like, is it actually a happy ending? 'Cause now it's over, and all that's left is you and the infinite void. I had to contain myself so hard from laughing in that moment because I could tell that like parents were getting like a little bit weirded out in that moment before thankfully it just like took it away with the saxophone into the Super Mario Bros. Theme. I feel like in 10 years time, there's just gonna be like swaths of teenagers that are like, you know, when I realized that something might not have been completely okay with me as a person, Lumalee in the Mario movie. And I don't know what it says about me that little shit was the most entertaining part of the whole movie on my end, but bravo. Whoever's idea that was, amazing. But that brings us to the post-credit scene where we get a cute little Yoshi egg. Now, we saw a herd of other Yoshi earlier on, but none of them were green, so this is going to be the Yoshi. But I feel like maybe that would have hit more if we hadn't seen any Yoshis at all, but like obviously this one is going to be special. This is the Yoshi. This is Mario's Yoshi. But yeah, that is pretty much the Mario movie. This probably still ended up being longer than I thought it was going to be with my rambles and repetition, so maybe I'll have to cut some things around, but it was not that bad. It's not fantastic. It is a little bit shallow on the plot end, but I do still think they did some things that were fun. Like I really just thought it was going to be like Bowser wants to take over the Mushroom Kingdom for the sake of Bowser taking over the Mushroom Kingdom, and he's going to try to steal Peach just to be stealing the ruler of the Mushroom Kingdom. This whole thing with like Jack Black like prepping for his wedding, doing like fake run-throughs, like it was fun. But that is going to do it for today's video. If you saw the Mario movie, let me know what you were thinking down below. I think I fall kind of in the middle, more on the positive side. I don't think it's trash, but it is not the work of art that some people are putting out there. If you had a blast with it, that's great, because that is, you know, movies, it's great when movies entertain people because that's what they're supposed to do. But thank you all so much for watching. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later.